guys, welcome to the very first episode of Empowered. I am Mandy.
And I am Brittany.
And we are so excited. We've actually been talking about this probably for weeks about launching a podcast. Brittany and I actually have some really similar underlying themes here. We both connected very like serendipitous, like invisible string-esque, met through work. And found out like we just have so many incredible things in common and both have shared dreams, goals, all of these wonderful things. And I think most importantly, more than anything, like a goal and a desire to break a cycle, right? To show up and do something different. And I am so excited to kind of highlight others who are doing that and talk a little bit about our journey doing that in hopes of empowering, encouraging, inspiring other women to push through and do the same thing. It's not easy.
Yeah. We're happy to be here for sure and happy to break these cycles and dive into it and also help other women to learn and grow within their success. Mental health is definitely very important to the both of us. Yeah. Also professionalism and success for women and making sure that we have a voice in this world. It's very important. So we're ready to get started.
Yeah. So we're going to kick it off today with something we both have in common. We both came to Charlotte for a new start, right? So we both decided to kind of kick off our cycle breaking and our push for success here in the Queen City. So we're going to get to know a little bit about Brittany's journey there and get a little bit of a better understanding. So, okay, I think I get this question so frequently. Why Charlotte?
Honestly, moving to Charlotte was always in my plan. I didn't know how I was going to make it work, though. So I'm from Columbia, South Carolina. I lived there for all of my life, except for 1 year when I lived in Spartanburg because I went to USC Upstate my freshman year of college. Absolutely was not my place. And so I moved back home, finished out my undergrad at the University of South Carolina, and stayed there. Then I first started my teaching career. So fun fact, I was actually a second grade teacher in Casey and started that. Wasn't too happy. Definitely loved my students and loved the idea of teaching, but it just wasn't my niche place. So I decided I had to talk with my mom and I was like, hey, I want to get out. I want to start fresh. I want to start something new. And Charlotte had always been my go-to place, either Charlotte or Atlanta. Although I've got some country roots, I definitely love the city. I definitely love the city. And so I was like, it's not too far. I can still be close to mama. And I was like, yeah, I just want to go. So one weekend we came up here and I found an apartment on South Boulevard. So I was definitely in the city, in the thick of it for sure. And I actually came here with no career. So I ended my teaching career in, May of 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, or was that 2022?
I think like post-COVID, everything is a blur.
Yeah, truly.
Right? Like it's all...
Yeah. So anyways, it was May. Gave my resignation, finished out the year, and then, came up here and I was sitting here. And one thing about me, and I think it's very important, and I've actually discussed with you, I've never worried about job security. And some people might hear that and think, okay, wow, like how? Or I don't know, maybe, I don't know. Whatever you want to think. But the thing is about me is I know my work ethic, and I think that's really important. So, and I know that in the right place, I'll be appreciated. And my saying is I could actually be shoveling dirt. But the thing is if I love it and I want to be there and I'm appreciated doing it, I'll do the best that I can. And so I wasn't necessarily worried. And a lot of times people would be like, okay, how are you going to move to a new city and have no idea what you're doing? And I was like, well, I'll just figure it out. So the week of my birthday, which is August 25th, Virgo, I was sitting down at my bar, sitting there, and I was like, okay, I do finally have to figure out what I'm going to do. So I applied to countless of jobs. I can't even remember how many. But the week of my birthday, from a Wednesday to a Friday, I actually conducted 8 interviews.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. It was. And I got several calls back. And then finally on the one last final interview, I was like, okay, I think this is the role. I think this is the job. And initially I applied to be an executive assistant. So I really like the background of things, diligent scheduling, planning, making sure all fires are put out. But rather than getting an executive assistant position, they actually transitioned me into a sales role. And I initially started off as an account development manager. So started there, and I started in September of 2022, and it was good. I was finally like, okay, I secured the role, I secured the job, and I started, and I got to take time off from being in Charlotte, and really just kind of like decompress, and then started in September.
Wow. Okay. So teaching versus a sales role.
Yeah.
Talk to me about like what that feels like for you and like what it does for you internally.
It's a lot different. I actually had someone ask me the other day, because sales, transparently speaking, there's always more that you can be doing. Your role is never completed and you're never done. And so it is a lot of pressure. And I think everybody in sales can understand that, because you can always sell more. You can always be pitching out your business more. And like I said, you're really never complete. And so the pressure of that, not that it's too much, but it can be sometimes overwhelming.
Yeah.
Whereas on the other hand, teaching is a complete different capacity. And you can't even put the same roles or those two roles on the same paper. Because with teaching, you face so many different challenges, and especially in the community and the school that I was in particularly. So when I was teaching, I was in a low-income school. So therefore, my students faced several different challenges.
It's hard.
It was. And there were a lot of times where I was more focused on, are my students going to be able to go home to a warm bedroom, even if that, a blanket, food on the table. And so that worried me a lot. And it came to the point where I was more focused on their well-being rather than their academics. And in the world that we live in today and in our public education system, that's what they're worried about. They're just worried about the academics. And it was heartbreaking for me because I couldn't bring myself to just focus on that. And I was more worried about, their well-being. They're in survival mode.
Yeah. How do they come to school every day and like learn and show up if they don't have a safe place to go home at night? Like,
exactly.
How can you focus on that?
Exactly. And so it's a complete different challenge than my role now. And so trying to compare the two is like comparing apples to oranges. But I can say that I've always found myself being in a role that I have control. And so, I'm in my own classroom. I have control of my own things. I have control of my students in
That's
a
interesting.
way. Whereas now I'm in a sales role and I have control of my success.
Yeah.
Hence, I'm a control freak.
Yeah. We're going to note that one. We'll put that aside for a therapy subject later. Stick 2 peas in a pod, 2 most controlling humans on the planet in one podcast.
But, our control tendencies can definitely be a benefit in not only our lives, but other lives as well. So,
correct. Yeah.
Although sometimes people think it's a negative, it can be a benefit.
Yeah, I think you have to leverage it right?
You do.
You can't let the control you. And that sounds ridiculous, but it's like you have to be mindful and aware. And if you're mindful and aware, you can leverage it for your own success. Mm-hmm. But if you're unaware of it, it's going to totally destroy you because you're going to there are things you just cannot control.
Exactly.
Like, there are so many things that are just so out of your control that if you try to control them, like you're done for. And then you're frustrated and you'll spin your wheels and be miserable. So.
Exactly. And that's something, going back to the teaching part of my career, that's something that I had to learn very quickly, because there are so many things that you can't control in the public education system. And I do think that had a lot to do with the fact of me leaving education, because unfortunately, as a lot of people have tried to make changes within the education system in America, it nearly seems no matter how much you can do or have done, it makes the smallest
it's
change.
Such a big issue, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's so much bigger than just education.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's the children not getting support that they need at home. They're not getting the care, the nutrition, like so many other things that then kind of hone in here that you have no control over.
Right.
It's funding, it's politics, it's everything when you show up every day to do your best, and that's all you can do.
Yep.
Okay.
People did ask me if I was going to come to Charlotte and teach. And so as we all know, teachers do not make what they deserve as far as a salary goes. And I told them, I was like, I don't know, I need to look into it. And then that was a further piece that actually kind of guaranteed that I wasn't going to do it, because once I found out that Charlotte, or the state of North Carolina, they actually make less, teacher-wise, they make less than those in South Carolina.
That's shocking to me. And especially in Charlotte.
Exactly. And North Carolina is actually higher in cost of living than South Carolina.
Yeah.
And so I was very shocked and surprised about that, for sure.
Yeah, that's concerning. So one thing that I have been in awe. So obviously Brittany and I meet through work, and you start to establish a relationship with your coworkers, and you start to get a feel. And I am hearing Brittany is yeah, I have to go do makeup this weekend. I'm working this weekend. And I'm like, hold on, we're leaving the office. You're going to work. What the heck? So I'm showing up to my 9 to 5, exhausted here. And I'm like, I'm just pushing through here. I got this. And meanwhile, Brittany is leaving work at Friday night to drive 2 hours and then show up and work all weekend. So talk to me a little bit. When she says work ethic, I'm always I pride myself in my work ethic. I don't think I've ever met a human where I'm okay, your work ethic is twice mine. Brittany Mills is insane. She's yeah, I just worked a wedding. I did 15 people this weekend and then drove back, and I meal prepped and I cleaned my whole house. And I'm I thought I had 24 hours in the day. We clearly have different 24 hours. Talk to me about this whole running a side business essentially, and just give me that breakdown. I'm so in awe of this.
Yeah. So starting back, so before teaching, before career, before Charlotte, before everything, I had the pleasure and the honor truly to become a business partner with Corey King Makeup. And I was actually, another red string that we have attached to one another was a pageant girl. Crazy enough. Yeah. Sometimes I don't claim it. Because...
So Brittany and I, we're sitting there. She's in so the company we worked for, we both worked for, they do an intro lunch, right? You come in, you're a new hire, you get to meet new people. And Brittany's in my intro lunch. Brittany and I, our positions were really I like to say we were attached at the hip.
Yeah, absolutely.
They really were paired together. And in our intro lunch, we talk about birthdays. And this is the first thing I remember where I'm okay, there's a string here. And Brittany also shares a birthday with her mother. I share a birthday with my mom. Immediately we're well,
how does this work?
This is crazy. I very rarely meet people who share birthdays with their mom, and then find out that we're both pageant women in our past life, did the pageant thing, which is not as common as you would think here in the South.
Yeah.
Up north, if you say you did pageants, people think you're crazy. Absolutely. They're what is a pageant? What is that? Why would you do that? Here in the South, it's a whole culture, which is amazing and so much fun. But it was oh, we both existed in the pageant world and in similar time frames too. Yeah. So it's so interesting. We have all these things and then never we didn't cross paths.
Right.
And it's so intriguing to me. Sorry. Side tangent. I'm just
no, that's fine.
Strings are odd.
So starting off, let's see, it was January of 6 years ago. So this January of 2024, marked 6 years that I started it. And Corey actually messaged me and he's look, we have a pageant going on and I need help with pin curling. And I'm what? A pin curl? What in the heck is that? And although I had been in pageants, I was still, very surprised as to all the things that can go in it.
Doing pageants does not equate to knowing pageant hair and makeup.
Yeah, right.
Vastly different. Yeah.
And so I was yeah, absolutely. I'll learn, I'll do whatever. And also too, I had always said when I was in elementary school, actually, and a lot of people don't know this, we had a project, I think I was in the 4th grade, and we were talking about what did we want to be when we grew up? And I wrote down I wanted to be a cosmetologist.
Okay.
And so it was crazy that although all throughout my life, I was, I majored in early education at first too. And this is a whole nother story and we'll get there one day, but I used to want to be a doctor before that.
Wow.
Now that is a story that we'll have to get to. Episode 2 will come.
Yeah. We'll talk about like the life tangents because we've got them.
Exactly. We have plenty. So anyways, it's crazy that I'm actually able to live out my childhood dream almost nearly unintentionally. I never had the, plan to do it. And I think that's the beauty in being a successful woman is that we get so caught up in like, okay, I need a diligent plan. I need all things written out. And especially for us, we're very type A individuals. And so everything has to have a schedule. Everything has to have a plan. Everything has to have a spot.
And God forbid we go off of that plan.
Exactly.
Things like come off rails. Like I think the two of us have talked about this before. We're like, we have a vision. And if something goes off of that vision,
it's like ruined.
We like lose it. Like you can't process. You're like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
This is game over. But it's interesting to hear like the things you didn't plan or anticipate.
They came to me.
The most.
And literally, I was sitting in a movie theater watching a movie. Oh. And that's how easy it came to me without even having to diligently plan. And so I think we, like I was saying, get so caught up in, okay, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. When in hindsight, things will come to you when it's the right time and when you need it the most. And truly, I have found myself needing hair and makeup for so many different reasons throughout my whole entire life and throughout my 6 years of doing it that have been such a blessing. So started it 6 years ago when January hit and with Corey King. And he's like, hey, I need your help. And I was like, okay, cool. Yep. So showed up that Saturday, did the pageant.
You did the pin curls.
I did the pin curls.
Were you YouTubing like the night before? Or were you just going into it and you were like, I'll figure it out?
I did actually YouTube it the night before and I was sitting there and I was like, all right. And then of course too, at that time, Corey had one of his hair assistants there who was like the main person. And she was showing me and I was like, okay, I got this. Yeah. So did all the people. We actually had 14 girls that day for one pageant.
Wow. That's a lot.
It was a lot.
For those of you who like don't run in the pageant space, like it's what, like an hour per head. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I've sat and it's a minute, like hair, makeup, like, and it's not just casual, like you're popping in some loose curls, like you're pin curling everything and you're doing stage makeup, which is heavy and it's dense and it has to be perfect. And and pageant girls can be particular. Yeah,
very particular.
A particular bunch, and especially if their moms are present too. They're a particular bunch too.
Yeah, for sure. And also too, it's crazy to think, and I also try to remind every one of my clients who are sitting in my chair, like they're being judged. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Like you're being literally scored on a piece of paper for the way you present yourself and the way you conduct yourself. And I have two sides of the story. It's a panel of interviewers who are judging you, maybe 5 at most. And so when my client sit in my chair, I'm like, look, it's 5 people out of all the people in this world. Like, don't take this too serious, And that's a reminder for you all too. Don't worry about people's judgments.
So I always heard 5 different judges, like different outcome.
Yeah.
Right. So that was mine. Like you walk into an interview and these 5 judges might have like some preconceived notions about you. You might come in and share about an experience that resonates or connects with one of them. And great, like knocked it off. But if you had 5 different judges, like you could have been at the very bottom of the list and very much moved up to number 1. Like it's so wild to me that like, it's minuscule.
Exactly.
Like it means it's a good representation of like, it's just other people's opinion.
Right. And I think too, like, even if say you were my judge for a pageant, we would clearly like knock it off right at the beginning because we have common things that we share. We have the same skill set, things of that nature. So like, it also depends on like who you're speaking to, or you could be talking to a wall, which funny. And you just don't know.
Or you do know.
So it's very different. And so the thing is that you have to remind yourself. But anyways, tangent there. As you will learn very quickly to our audience. Mandy and I, we have a lot of context. we have a lot to us. Yeah. But as long as you can keep up and be a pinball with us, then you'll like us.
I like the pinball analogy. I think for sure. I'm always looking for other people in my life who can, it's like my brain is a pinball. Yeah. Like you have to be able to follow. You have to be able to keep up. It makes dating like
See, here we go.
Immensely painful. Yeah. Immensely painful because it's like, you have to be as smart as I am. And it's not smart in the way of like, I need you to be book smart or intelligent. It's
No.
I need you to converse with me, challenge my brain, keep my brain going. Like, we're so similar on that front of like, challenge me.
Yeah.
Like, keep up with me, have a conversation, and let's have some conversation that's full of depth.
Yes.
Like, don't come to me and talk to me about, don't bring negativity of like your drama. I want to hear your drama. Don't get me wrong, but like, bring me things that make my brain challenge.
Yeah.
Like that inspire my brain, encourage my brain. Like, let's brainstorm, let's grow, let's learn things. Like, that's intriguing.
And that's how we ended up here.
And so now we're doing this.
Quite literally.
Growing the brain. Sorry. Okay. So Brittany's doing this side hustle, right? And she's got this full-time plus job and then doing a side hustle and doing all of this. So talk me through for you. And I know I hate when people ask me this question, but I'm going to ask it to you and feel free to be loose with like your, how you answer it. Like, what is the vision?
Yeah.
Like, what are you plugging? Cause you're plugging away. You are doing the thing. What is the vision? Like, what is the goal? What do you want out of it? And take that and answer that however you will.
So I definitely, get caught up in, okay, what is this vision and where am I going? What am I doing with my life? And where is my not final destination, but where will I end up? And the thing is that, like I was mentioning earlier, we put so much pressure on ourselves to try and figure everything out. And I think I've come to a conclusion that like not everything is going to be figured out. As much as it does bug me and as much as I get worried about it and stressed out about it, there's no way that I can plan the rest of my life and hit every nail on the head. And so with that, as I was talking about makeup, I started 6 years ago and it's really flourished into a wonderful business. And in fact, I just created my business brand, Beauty by B. Find me on Instagram.
I know. Here's the shameless plug. It's not shameless. Look at this face though. Like, so, and she knows how to do pink curls now.
I do know how to do pink curls.
She will not YouTube it the night before. She might, but they look great. I've seen the work and attest. The pink curls are amazing.
So Beauty by B offers hair and makeup for all things really. Pageants, proms, weddings, photo shoots, runways, birthday parties, anything. I do girls in college for like their sorority events and things of that nature, like truly anything. Or if you just want me to do it for you, like going out one night, like truly I've done it all. But yeah, just launched that. And so I'm definitely wanting to kind of like kick that off and keep that going. And the reason being is because a lot of people will ask me, they're like, okay, do you want to turn this into a full-time role? And I actually say no. And even though I created like my whole entire business plan and my business name, and truly I have my own LLC, like it's a legit business, I wouldn't rely on that full time. And the reason being is that it's more of a hobby for me because it's something that I love. And I would never want to take the love piece out of it and feel that I have to rely on it consistently.
Okay.
And make it a full-time role.
That makes sense.
It's a supplement to my life and a supplement to my career and especially my bank account for sure. Sometimes it can overpower. Sometimes I can say it can overpower my, corporate role, which is a true benefit. Because there's so many people that you can do. There's so many different things, but I'm keeping that as a hobby, but also really, really building the brand. But that's not to say later down in life and down the road that it wouldn't turn into a full-time role. But I kind of just let it be and let it play out on its own.
Yeah.
So that's that. And then corporate world, since September of 2022, I have been promoted to a senior client partner. And, I'm growing within the business, but I definitely think in the future, like I'm not stopping here. And I want to really grow and also come back to my teaching roots. So I'm really thinking about getting into learning and development within corporate. It's what I truly love to do.
I could see that. So for some context here, my first 90 days, 126 months at this role that Brittany and I are sharing, right? like Brittany's teaching me everything. Like literally the most patient, kind human who's like, here you go, I'll show you this. Here you go, I'll show you this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? I'm like, you're such a teacher. Like you have so much. And like, I've done my fair share of like, I've held a weird array of roles and I've done the training thing before. And it takes such a like very specific human to be a good like corporate trainer or onboarder or anything of that sort, because you have to have this like painful amount of patience.
And it's actually my mother, if she heard this, she would disagree with you until she was blue in the face.
Which is hilarious. Like the things we have patience for, like in our professional life that we then in our personal, like I'm the least patient human personally.
Exactly.
But professionally, like very similar.
I would probably never identify myself as a patient person.
Which is wild because if I think patience, like you come to my first top 10 because I've seen you like the utmost patience. Yeah.
Well, that is for sure a compliment. God bless. Let's go scream it from a mountaintop because
it's on video. It's real.
Right. We have evidence.
It's official. It is evidence. Yeah. So your mom and I can talk later. We'll just chat later.
Right.
I'm sure she'll send me the message and be like, that's not it.
But yeah, I mean, I want to get into learning and development because I do. I value teaching and I value, seeing, and I think what I value the most is I see someone grasp the information. And then I'm able to say, okay, like my teaching abilities helped them grasp this information and then implement and make use of this to be able to be successful.
I just had a whole light bulb in my head. So we're talking about this podcast concept, right? And I'm like, this is what I wanted. So I go to Brittany probably like 90 days after knowing 60 days. Like I was like, here's what I want to do here. And she was like, oh, that sounds amazing. I don't know if that's like if that's the kind of person I am. I don't know if I can do it, all of this. And I'm listening to you be like, oh, that aha moment is so important for me. And I think that's the thing I love about podcasts is like, you get to learn and you get to like offer your personal, it's like teaching on a personal level.
For sure.
It's like totally improving and empowering other people's lives. Like even if it's one person with your story. And I just had like this huge aha moment of I'm like, Brittany, you're doing that.
Yeah.
Like you're doing it. Like you don't even know it, but you sharing your journey and sharing like who you are as a human is going to be so profound and impactful for somebody else who like feels that same way and is like, okay, maybe they became a teacher.
Yeah.
And they're like, I am struggling. Like I know so many teachers who are like, what am I doing with my life? And I love teaching.
Yep.
And it's like, there's so many different capacities that you could love teaching in. And so I'm so giddy about this because I'm like, this is Brittany's thing. She doesn't even know it and it's her thing.
Yeah. So thanks to you, you have me here. You truly are paths crossed and you have me sitting in this seat in front of this camera with a microphone in front of my face.
Just there.
Because truly it's all power to you. All praises to you for sure.
The string, right? Like I'm like, truly. Okay, I wanted to do this podcast. It's been 2 years. So I talked to my dad this morning. I'm like, my dad and I like have random phone calls all the time. Like I'm always kind of checking in. And he was like, like 2 years ago, you told me you wanted to do a podcast. Like let it sink in that you're going to do it. You're launching it. You're moving forward with it. And today is the day.
Round of applause.
That's
round
big.
Of applause.
2 years. And so it was like, I just needed like podcasts for me. They're great if somebody just sits and rants at you, but it's not wonderful. I don't know. Like I want something conversational and I want to be able to keep people engaged and offer something that's insightful. And it's like, my opinions are just that. So to have another human to say, okay, like here's my experience on it too. And here's ours. And we're going to bring guests onto the show too, which is going to be amazing to have a third perspective. But it's like, I think our personalities were just so cohesive that I was like, there it is. There's the spark. That's what we need. Let's go.
Yeah.
And
you want to be raw too.
Yeah. Like, and I need someone like, I want to host a podcast and work on a podcast with somebody who's like genuine, who has an interesting journey, right? Like who's been through some of the similar things that I have and is doing the work on it, right? Like the awareness and, that like awareness of the trauma or the struggle and where it's brought you, I think is a huge piece that we're going to be able to really make an impact on and make a change on. So
for sure.
So freaking excited. Yeah.
I'm excited.
It's good. It's good.
So yeah, let's see. I was talking about, where my vision is. And so that's with corporate. And like I said, I truly want to like get into learning and development. Sales, while yes, like I've done it and I've been successful in it, I truly think that just goes back to like my personality. Yeah. Like, I don't think that, I've been successful because I know our market so well, like the back of my hand, or like I'm an expert in any area, because like I can be humble enough and say like I'm truly not. And like, I don't mind admitting that. I think that that's a good thing to admit.
Yeah.
But like, if you know how to talk to people and you know how to sell yourself and be able to converse like you and I do, like it's definitely going to set you apart from those who are a bit more bland. And, you definitely want to pride yourself in the things that you do bring to the table. And I can say, I bring a lot of personality. I'm
all of the personality.
I'm very present. And I think that plays a huge role in my sales career, because, I might not be an expert, but I can say like I'm an expert within, my personality and who I am and what I bring to the table. So therefore I kind of let that lead my sales career. Yeah. And I think that's important. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And then of course too, with the little other side thing that I just got finished off with.
Side thing. It's super casual. I'm sure none of you know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Small stuff. It's no big deal.
Very small stuff.
Small stuff.
Those of you that don't know, I was a part of Love is Blind season 6 on Netflix. And
she was. I'm just going to go ahead and say number one fangirl. She was season 6, Love is Blind. No shit. We're a girl's girl. But
yeah.
Like such a cool. So obviously like I'm sitting next to Brittany every day, and then I'm like, oh, okay. Thanks for, wow, this is crazy. And Brittany and I like have formed, like, I definitely consider Brittany one of my best friends, and we have this really cool connection. And to be able to watch somebody like that you're so close with, like you watch your friends fall in love, right? Like in the real world. And you like get to see the experience of them, like finding people and meeting people and having that, but to watch it like intimately and to be able to watch somebody like fall for someone and like somebody you really care about fall for, it was like such a weird, like emotional experience where I was like, this human I care for so much. Like I'm watching the real and raw footage and I'm like, I'm watching you cry at the counter. And I'm like, I took a picture. I didn't send it to you because it was so bad. I was like sobbing and I was like, somebody hug her. And I'm like, I need a hug right now. And I was just losing it. And I was like, yeah, my girl. And it's such a like, it's incredible to see you carried yourself. I think a lot of people go on reality TV and like, it's no like secret that reality TV gives a lot of people like opportunity, right? Like, and if you are acting a certain way, you're going to get more screen time. We've always talked about like, I'm always like, I would have loved to see more Brittany screen time. I've seen it, I've read it. But I think that when you're really like, your storyline isn't exciting because you're genuine and like, you don't have any drama. Yeah. And so it's like, of course you're not going to get an extra amount of screen time because that doesn't get viewers, right? Like, so you're just so wholesome and true to yourself. And it's so like wild for me to see that like the same human on the screen is this like exact same person that you get in real life. Like, I think sometimes people portray like, you want to go on and put your best foot forward, right? Like nobody wants to go on TV and be an a-hole. Like that just sucks, right? Like, but like the human that you were is the human that you bring to the table every single day. And it's like the coolest thing ever because I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl's so genuine, like true in who she is through and through. And I think that like that carries you. Yeah. Like everybody's like, oh my gosh, she carried herself so well. And I was like, because that's who she is. Like she's a quality human. Like I try. Yeah. And so it's so interesting to see like how that's played out for you. Talk to me about that experience. Like, what was that like? What were you thinking? Like, I don't know. You're totally opening your life up for the world. Yeah. I mean, it was, and of course, like I want to be able to talk with you all about it more directly as well. And that be a topic of subject. But the thing is that going on, you really don't know like what you're getting yourself into because you see it on TV, you hear about it, you see past seasons. And in fact, like I never watched the show prior.
And so it was a lot. But I can say I would do it all over again. The experience itself was phenomenal. And I would encourage everyone to do it. But what I'm so thankful for is that, as Mandy was saying, I was my true self. And that's something that I'm so incredibly grateful for, because truthfully, putting yourself in front of a camera, you really don't know like how you're going to be portrayed. You don't know what's going to be the outcome. You have no idea. And I think everyone who's been on reality television, even people in movies, like it doesn't even have to like narrow down to reality. They can all testify to like, you truly don't know.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that I'm just incredibly grateful for is that, what everyone saw is truly what I give everyone. And that I couldn't be more thankful for and like at peace with the whole entire situation. And so, like you were saying, with opportunities of being, on reality television, like it of course does open a lot of doors. And so I think right now, speaking on my vision, I really just want to be available, for the right opportunity.
Yeah.
Things are going to come here and there and things are going to present themselves. But I think trusting in my gut and in God and, having faith in each place that I go and, where I put myself, whether that's corporate America, whether that's my hair and makeup business, whether that's, anything affiliated with the opportunities with Love is Blind. I think that whatever feels right and whatever door opens for me, I think that's where I'll be. And so it's hard, we're talking about like plans and like where I'm going and what I have planned. I don't know if I could have a diligent plan right now.
You just have to be open, right? Like it's not like the plan is like open to
right.
And it's interesting. Like we've talked about this already. Like we're both, okay, here's the plan. Here's the 5-year plan. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to achieve. And it's almost like a lesson of like, hey, Brittany, you're going to get the most out of this if you toss your plans out the window and like obviously stick to the things that are important to you. Like leading with like the kind of human you are and seeing that come to fruition. But it's like tossing all of that out the window to say like sit back and trust, right? Like trust that the things that are meant for you are going to find you.
Yeah.
And show up every day and continue to hustle in whatever way that you can. And then those opportunities are going to present themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And this is something that I have kept with me for, well, I'd say, forever, but it was actually right after I ended my teaching career. I was at the gym and I was talking to, so I used to take a gym class and I was talking to a guy who actually is a band teacher at the high school that I went to. And it's a small world and everything goes in circles. But he was telling me, he's like, okay, well, what are you doing now? And I was like, I have no idea. Like, I literally have no idea. I just want to be happy. And when I said, I just want to be happy, he was like, can I challenge you to something? And this goes back to, like challenging your mind and conversations. He's like, what makes you happy? And I gave him a here and there answer. And it's like when you say, I just want to be happy, but then when someone challenges you of like, okay, what makes you happy? You then kind of sit back and you're like, okay, wait, what does make me happy?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, everyone thinks like success, I want to make money. I want to be successful, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And he's like, okay, but what role would you want to be in to fund that? And, and we just continue to chat. And he's like, all right, well, I want to challenge you to think about it this way. It's not that you want to be happy, but like I've always thought about what makes you fulfilled. And like that stuck with me because I'm like, okay, happiness can come and go. It truly can.
Yeah, it's such a temperamental thing.
Exactly.
Right? And you're kind of in control of it too at the end of the day.
Exactly. And so it's more so what is going to make you feel fulfilled and what is going to fulfill you. And so no matter where I go, I want to be fulfilled. And like I said, happiness is going to come and go. It's an ebb and flow, truly. But being fulfilled, you're still going to feel whole on those days that are not so good or that you're not happy.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's like a testament for everybody is like, what's fulfilling you? and what's serving you and what's filling your cup and is what is going to continue to keep your cup full, even on the days where, you know how I am about the weather, where it's raining outside.
If it's raining, she's not.
I'm sad.
It's totally.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
Day's done. Call it a new day.
I'm done.
It's not a good day. It is not a good day.
I need the
It's a
sunshine.
plant.
And crazy enough, and I think this speaks to like we're in the right place. And, you know, as silly as it may sound, it's been raining cats and dogs for 5 ever here in Charlotte. And then we woke up, like I checked the weather last night, and it's supposed to rain until next Saturday. 7 days of rain, y'all will not see me. I will be crying with the sky, truly. But here we go. It is crystal. I'm looking out my window. It is crystal clear blue skies.
Beautiful.
I see one small cloud. And, you know, it just, I feel like it's like I don't know, the world's telling us that we're right where we need to be.
I know.
Because it's sunshining outside.
It opened up. It's sun shining. We're here with our sunshine.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly.
I love it. So we'll probably wrap this up for you guys.
Yeah.
So what you can expect from us, I'm so freaking excited.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be watching this episode. It's probably going to be the second week of March. Our anticipation and our goal is to produce a weekly episode for you guys to stay tuned, stay along. And then we're going to be bringing on different guests.
Yeah.
So we're going to chat about different guest stories and hear about their journey, their story, how they got to where they are, and really understanding and dissecting that in hopes that if you're in a similar space, you're saying, hey, I can relate to this. Hey, this person's going through something I went through. How did they push through it?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you don't want to do it exactly the same, but it gives you some perspective to say like, hey, you're not alone. Hey, there's so many of us out there who are doing this and that you've got the capability.
Right.
Like you totally get to determine and design no matter where you come from. And that I think is the biggest underlying piece here is Brittany and I both have like
So
wonderful, like a lot, right? Like we both come from such unique backgrounds and have a cycle breaking to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times when you have that cycle breaking to do, you get stuck in this idea of like, it's too hard. It's too much. I have to like follow in the steps of that cycle. And it's hard. It's like active work.
Yeah, for sure.
And so hopefully what we can do is to help encourage you, inspire you, and connect you with other women that maybe you get to have a role model. So growing up, like I didn't have a role model. I didn't have someone who I could look up to say, wow, that is what I want to do. That is what I want to be. So I'm hoping that in sharing this with you guys, we can connect you with those. You can find that for yourself. And when I say role model, like I don't care how old you are, where you're at in your career, who you are, what you've done. Like, it is so important to have somebody that inspires you and motivates you and encourages you. So hopefully we can bring some of those people to you guys. And we're really looking forward and appreciate you guys joining us on this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a journey. Excited.
It's going to be a whole journey.
It's going to be a journey for sure.
Our setup right now, like we're just excited to see how it evolves.
We're
you guys wouldn't believe, what's happening behind you. We're doing it, you know? Neither of us have a background in this stuff at all. We have no idea what we're doing.
We're just rolling with it.
So if you know what you're doing, let me know. Let me know. But I think we're doing the best we can with what we've got right now. And so excited to see this scale, to grow, to get to learn more about each other, about these incredible women, and share our stories with you guys.
Yeah. And I also wanted to say too, like, as you can see from this first episode, like I truly, you know, focusing on like my career and like how I got to Charlotte. Let's go back to like the initial question. It's important that your feedback comes in. So like I talked about, you know, teaching, I talked about hair and makeup business, starting your own business, corporate America, coming from teaching to corporate America, moving without a job, moving to a new city, like truly so many things, being on reality television. Let me not forget like the largest thing. But it's crazy that like you can go through so much. And that was truly just like the surface level of everything, trying to hit all points. But it's important. And I want to ask you all, if you want to hear just teaching, let us know. If you want to hear corporate America, we've got plenty. If you want to hear, and that's very career based too. And I think we both have plans to dive into, you know, Mandy was speaking about cycles, like childhood, like really getting down in the nitty gritty. I personally am very comfortable with sharing a lot of my story. Some people may not be. And, I want to promote vulnerability. And, because I can say one thing about myself is I am very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so, I want to cover everything. I want to cover teaching, corporate, reality, moving. I want to cover childhood, therapy. Like there's so many different levels.
The whole human experience is what we're
Yes.
trying to capture
Right,
here. Like
right.
as a woman who wants to be successful.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many facets to that.
And success for each person looks different.
So
You could
different.
ride a bike for 5 miles and that's your success.
That would
Or
be successful
you
for
could
me.
hype. Yeah.
I can't ride a bike.
As I look at my bike that's sitting there that has not been touched in a year. So everything looks different. And I think me and Mandy's success has looked different for one another for sure.
Yeah.
But it still led us on this same path as we're sitting in front of you all, being able to talk about this. So
Yeah.
we've got a lot to unpack.
Okay. Before we
lot.
close this,
Yes.
and I think we ask this of everybody.
Yeah.
What does success look like to you?
Mm.
And so give me your 30-second success. I'll
Yeah.
give my 30-second success, and then we'll close it with that.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
That's a good question.
So I have to go back to the fulfillment piece. Honestly, success to me is, being fulfilled. And that is heavy. That's a really big full plate. And so success is one, fulfillment. And I think fulfillment looks like to me is my cup being full. And while it may empty sometimes, I know that there is still substance there and things that I can still walk on and push me forward. I think also too, success is always having more goals. And I know that that offers a lot of pressure, but knowing I think more goals means that you are completing the ones back here. And you're completing them, here's another one. You're completing them, here's another one. And that might scare people sometimes, but for me, and being the type A person that I am, and like I'm always chasing something more, I think that's my success. But also too, checking off those goals. And so, that really fuels my fire of being like, okay, I want to set this for myself and, not having a strict timeline, but just knowing like, I want to do this and it's coming. And so success is a lot. It is a lot of pressure, and some people can be afraid of it too because of things that it carries behind it. But I think that fulfillment piece of like, getting all the things that you want out of the things that you're putting in front of you. And so and whatever that may be, whatever
that's
that
a really
be.
Open-ended. Yeah. Like that can apply variably.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Sorry, I don't have a specific thing.
I totally sprung that on her. That was not pre-planned. None of this was pre-planned, to be honest with all of you. For type
We're
A
talking
humans.
from the dome piece right here.
There's
no board.
Crazy world up there. So for me, success, I think like generational is a huge piece for me, right? Like that cycle
Absolutely.
breaking. And so for me, it's like, I will know I've had success when I can extend like a hand down to assist others and coming from where I've come from to achieve the things that they want to achieve.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And I think like that's the fulfillment is huge for me. And that is like, that's when I know I've done it, right? Like, and it doesn't have to be big either. Like it doesn't have to be like, great, I've built a whole community and I've, like it doesn't have to be something massive, but it's being able to contribute back to my roots, the places I came from, and those who are like walking in the shoes I walked in, to maybe make it easier, right? Like maybe I'm saving them the same mistakes I made, the same struggles I had, the same like thought patterns. That's a whole thing for me. And being able to do that for those who are in the shoes I was in. Yeah. And being happy. Like that fulfillment is huge. I just like, I want to know that I've made an impact. That's great. I want to show up every day and like know that I'm making somebody's life a little bit easier, a little bit more wonderful, and I'm adding sunshine into their life in some way, shape, or form. So
she does that.
That's always the goal. It's the goal. I don't remember where I read it, but it's like you want to walk in the room and just feel like a ray of sunshine. And like those kind of people, and aiming to be a person like that. Like the world is so gloomy. Like things are so hard. And like, even if like the world around us is gloomy, but people's personal, like everything that's happening in everybody's day to day, like it is hard. And so when you walk into the room and if you can do something to brighten it up, lift it up, do anything to improve that for other people, and like, you're just making the world better.
See,
Like,
y'all
you've
see how
just
wonderful
improved
of a person
Like
she
two
is?
sunshines in a pod. I'm telling you, like,
Two sunshines
literally
in a
Brittany
pod.
would come into the office and I'd be like, you're here. The sun is here. Thank you for arriving. I couldn't have done this without you. Like, the day she wasn't in the office, I was like, it's, I can't do this. Like, it's just literally maybe a little codependent, but it's fine. We're
It's okay.
fine.
It's
It's okay. So, all right.
We did it.
We did it. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I am so excited that we get to go on this journey with everybody.
We're going to do it.
Tune in. Hang out with us. We have so much planned. You guys have
So
no
much.
idea. It's going to be amazing.
Stay tuned, sunshines.
Bye.
Bye.